Hey, what's going on? Thanks for watching another episode of Two Dads and Six Daughters with myself, Tony Scott, and my dude, Mark Clark. What's up, man?
Tony, what's going on with Gathering Steam, man? Every week I say the same thing.
Yeah.
I met with a career coach today, and I had to give him props because he was aware of what's going on online, like everything I was doing, and this is one of the shows that he watched, man.
What?
So he did his homework.
Oh, he did.
Me.
He did his homework on you because you were coming in for an appointment.
Yeah, and I was like, wow, I'm impressed.
Wow, that is impressive. Yeah.
Because and people say, how people give you the line, yeah, listen to your radio show, and you're like, uh-huh. But he talked about the conversation we had about the strip club or whatever.
Oh, yeah. What if your daughter wore a jump off and all that stuff?
Yeah, I was like, wow. So,
yeah.
Tony, you never know who's listening.
You never know. You never know, man. I knew a guy who was working on the radio in Seattle back in the 80s. And a dude was passing through town on a train who was the program director of Magic 108 in St. Louis and heard him, made a note of it, and hired him.
Well, Tony, I have a similar story, and I'm from Springfield, Illinois.
Yeah.
And Drew Smith, who was a sports guy, who actually ended up, I think he actually eventually got a national gig also, or he might have been in St. Louis. Drew Smith submitted a tape, and the weekend sports guy in Springfield was a 21-year-old Fred Hickman.
Is that right?
And so Fred Hickman actually got the gig, and that began his career.
Wow. And
then I think Drew eventually again left Springfield. I think he was in St. Louis a long time. But as you know, Fred was he in Detroit when you were in Detroit?
No.
But he was, Fred was like the guy from Springfield who made it. We all just look forward to
great pipes, man. Great pipes, man. I used to love to watch him and the late Nick Charles, man.
They were good.
They had that talking about they had that you and chemistry you and I have, man. They had that.
That's right, man.
They had that, man.
That's right.
Why couldn't we do sport? We should have done sports, man. I remember the time Mark told me one time. He goes, "Man, if you spoke Spanish, we'd be rich." I was like, "What do you mean?
Thanks,
what do you mean we? Wait a minute.
We'd be rich, man." I could just be like, "See, you're right, Tony." I could have been like, "Oh, Tony."
Hey, Holmes. The chances of me speaking Spanish were just as good as your chances of speaking Spanish. So,
yeah,
so if you'd have spoke Spanish, we'd have been rich.
You know what? If we were smart, we would have done the Eric Estrada thing and both taken Spanish.
Yeah.
Because we still had time when we were in St. Louis, man.
Not too late, man. Rosetta Stone, man. Go half, man.
Rosetta Stone.
We'll go half and we'll make a copy, man. What?
La Puerta.
La Puerta! My late grandmother, may she rest in peace. I walked in on her while she was on the toilet, and that's all she kept saying. La Puerta! The door! La Puerta! She couldn't even say the door in English, man. She just said, La Puerta!
You knew what it meant, though.
I did. And I was glad I closed that door, man. Woo! Man, them burritos, they kicked in, dog.
Those are the homemade enchiladas.
Yeah, man. So how the girls doing, man?
Man, the girls are. I had another great idea today that sadly, I have ideas, Tony, and they lay on the heap for years. So I'm trying to push this one through. Sydney.
Yeah.
My oldest daughter, Sydney, she's done this amazing physical transformation. And she's a dancer, like Olivia. And so she's kind of like, she lost her baby fat and she's really a focused type young lady, organized, focused, all A's, that kind of person. So I said, Sydney, and she's 12, she's going to be 13. I said, you know what we should do? We should get our trainer certifications together. And then you be like a young girl trainer, and you basically are a trainer for young people,
What'd she say?
Okay, I'm down, Dad. High five. But of course, that'll go on the other heap with all my other ideas.
Can you be a certified trainer when you're 12 or 13 years old?
Well, what happened, I think the information, what my thought was exposing her to all that great information and her having it. And she's that kind of, she's a student. She's that kind of person that's organized and she would remember the facts, would just be invaluable. And imagine if she just, does a book and does, that makes her interested in it as a teenager.
Right.
So I just got to push through, man. I got to push this idea, man. Come on, Dad. Come on, Dad. Not another. Don't let me down again,
man. Dad. So, well, you got to stay focused, man. Focus, man.
Come on, Dad.
Come
on, man.
So, Olivia, we're still riding high of her this $100,000 scholarship she got. We had the dinner last week.
That's great.
And she said she got recognized on campus because they put a picture on the homepage of the website of the school, and so she's still riding a little high about that and everything. And then to come to find out today, the girl who lives next door to us, who is a senior this year in high school, well, when her and Lindsay were little girls, they played together every day. I mean, all the time, together. Mm-hmm. Well, she done got herself a full ride to college for basketball.
Awesome.
And they said that they wanted her so bad that they said, if you get hurt where you can no longer play, the scholarship is still in place.
Man, that's it.
What more could you ask for, man?
What more, all these opportunities for our young girls, man, are amazing. My cousin told me recently that my cousin was a star in high school. In her junior year, she had a thyroid issue, and it took her out of athletics. And she divulged to me that her brother, she always felt bad because her brother told her, she had visited University of Minnesota. Mm-hmm. They'd offered her a full ride, same deal. And he told her, yo, you need to sign it. But at that point, she wasn't sick.
Yeah.
But he was like, it was the first college. And you get it. I mean, she was looking at it like, this is my first. I mean, University of Minnesota, hey, good great, school. But good school, but I think she was thinking, there'll be other offers. Right. But something inside him told her, he was a kind of a frustrated high school basketball star.
Right.
And he's like, yo, you need to go ahead and do that. And she didn't. And then she fell ill right when she got back from the visit.
No.
So it's like, she just divulged that to me like 20 years later. It's probably, those kind of things are painful.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And
well, the dynamic we're at right now is when the neighbor was telling my wife about it today. They're standing outside. Maria's out there. And Maria's hearing this, and now they're looking at Maria like, all right, these two girls got full rides. What you going to do? And see, I don't want to put that kind of pressure on her.
No.
And Maria and I have had conversations about this, and I says, I don't expect for you to do what Olivia has done. Right. I said, I don't. I expect you to go to college, right? And if you get a scholarship, any kind of scholarship, that's great. But if you don't, that's fine too. You need to make your own way, and you don't have don't try and be Olivia. You be you. Right, so we've had that conversation, man. So, have you ever had a conversation about with your girls, probably with Sydney more than the other two, about how to handle the word bitch?
Not really. I think that will come. She's not heard it. I mean, she don't hear it. We don't use it like that. I think same thing for me when I was raised. I think stuff like that, like if you're raised with respect, I think you demand respect. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I don't think because it's like even now for me that word, the bitch, when I hear that in regard talking about a woman, it's just such a turn off. It's so offensive. It pushes a nerve. Mm-hmm. Always has. I can't excuse that one. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what happens when you raise your kids in an environment that just doesn't tolerate that. Mm-hmm. That's what I hope. I mean, that's what happened with me on most everything. My mother didn't play that. My family didn't play that. So,
but it's interesting because you told me before that your mom told you that if you ever got in a fight because someone said something about her, that she would whoop you.
Yeah.
Now, what was her reason behind that?
Because she said you like if they call your mom a this and call your mother a that, and it's not to be true.
Why give it energy?
What are you fighting over?
Right.
And I think that's what the challenges for a lot of kids is. Sadly, these days, we kind of grew up with parents that we respected their character, mm-hmm. and they had high characters, and they had standards, and so whatever they said about your parent wasn't true. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, sadly, some of it is true.
Well, yeah.
I think you put the kid, and that's what makes these kids angry. These kids are angry.
Yeah.
These kids are raised in a world. We kind of grew up in an old-fashioned deal where, again, Big Mama and Mom and these people in our lives were people of high character. So, somebody talking about him really. I remember when kids started doing that, and I didn't really play that, but they would start talking about, the mom, the people in your family,
Right.
and then putting them in a embarrassing situation.
Right.
And again, the fight started when it was true, when somebody's mama was a hoe.
And you knew your mama was a hoe.
And you knew it,
Yeah.
So it's like, wow, that's too painful. Versus
The secret's out.
if somebody,
Yeah.
right, if someone said my mama was a hoe, it was like, no, my mama ain't a hoe.
Right.
And then, my mom's hoish ways were kept under wraps. Have some respect. Your mom need to have some respect.
See, I remember when Olivia was in ninth grade, she asked me, "What do I do?" She said she was walking down the hall, and these guys were behind her, and they were. She heard one of them say, "Look at that ass on her," and she said, "Well, I don't know what to do." I said, "You keep walking. Don't turn around. You keep walking like you didn't hear it. Keep in mind that you did hear it, but don't give that any energy. You just keep walking. Don't worry about it. So."
Yeah.
I've also given her, like, she's 18 now, but I've been giving her dating tips since she was 14 years old. And I have told her, I says, you go out with a guy, first date, daytime, lunch. First time you go out with a guy at night, if he gets drunk the first night, then that tells you everything you need to know about him.
Oh, man.
If he cusses up a storm around you like he's with his boys, if he brings his boys, that tells you everything you need to know about him, right? If he pulls the okie dokie and says, I forgot my wallet, can you pay for dinner? Pay for yours. And walk, or call me and walk away. I said that these are lessons, these are red flags that you have to be able to see. Now, I'm proud. Of course, I'm always proud of her. But she told me this week she was studying at some, the student area.
Union.
Yeah. She's studying. She goes, and these guys kept coming up to her, wanting to get her number and all that. And she goes, "They're so annoying." I said, "That's my baby. That's my baby. That's my baby. That's my baby.
Well played.
That's my baby." See there? Hey, man, I saw this story. This piece of garbage says that a 6-year-old, he had sex with a 6-year-old behind a building, and he says that she seduced him.
I can't even open that up, Tony.
Now, see, to me, if I'm the police officer who has him behind the building, I'm going to ask my fellow officers, "Will y'all go for a walk for a minute?" You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to tell them, "Do you want an open casket or not? Because you're going to die. I can shoot you in the heart. I can shoot you in the head. Which do you prefer? But you're getting shot, okay? Because someone like you, we need to thin the herd." That, I mean, am I wrong?
Well, so you can't be. Good thing you're not a cop. No, I mean, I feel you.
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
Yeah.
But can we really do that, Tony, as a cop? Come on. He's in New Orleans. They do it in New Orleans.
Yeah, they don't even tell the cops to go for a walk.
Right. They didn't have a beignet and coffee afterwards.
Yeah.
So that's just that those kind of people, man.
Yeah.
Off the record, I
Yeah,
agree.
off the record. Yeah, I got you. So they've been running this Latino thing on PBS. Part 2 was tonight. Watched it with Maria. Part 1 last week I watched. It's about Latinos in America, And when as far as the people of color getting screwed in this country, we right there with you, right? But one of them, one was telling their story, and they remember when they were a kid how they had Spam for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Now I remember having Spam. In a piece of toast, in a tortilla, that kind of stuff like that. Do you have a Spam memory?
You know what? Spam wasn't the big thing.
It wasn't?
We didn't do Spam. My mother was a brown swagger.
What'd you call your mama?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Now for those who may not know, what is that?
It's like it's, I don't know, is it potted meat? Brown swagger, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like tubular meat.
Okay.
It's
Now hold on, we're going off course now. We're going off the rails here.
Mama wasn't no hoe. It was meat.
Yeah.
In like in a tube, and you cut it. It'd be almost pasty.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost pasty. I'm sure it was some internal organs and some stuff just mixed all together.
Man.
Mom used to roll with that, and then she'd mix it with cheese. You remember the meat grinder?
Yeah.
It was funny because when I look back on it, I'm like, that was a hell of a sandwich, but it was like too much work for what you got.
Yeah.
My mom would grind she put the
Your mom had
brown
she had
swagger.
guns, man.
She would grind the brown swagger, right?
Yeah.
and add cheese too.
No.
Like Velveeta cheese.
No.
And then put that on mayo and a sandwich.
Was it good?
It's like a lot. Do you remember those old grinders you have to put to the table?
Yeah.
I used to think about why is all this work going into this damn sandwich?
That's what folks did back then, though. They worked hard for everything, man.
It was, you could have just put a little piece of brown swagger and a piece of cheese on the sandwich.
See, I think that potted meat was Spam put in a grinder.
Well,
we used to have a lot of Spam. We had a lot of that little key you used to open up the top of it and stuff, and you'd open it. And then I remember my father would take potted meat and crackers for lunch. I mean, because we weren't rich people, so some days he'd have some sardines and stuff like that he would take for lunch. Can you imagine having some sardines sitting in the lunchbox, in the summertime, sitting in the sun until it was lunchtime at 12 o'clock? I mean, that fish was almost fried in the oil it was sitting in that little can, right?
Yo, man, I just discovered sardines as a grown-ass man.
You like sardines?
I do now. I didn't back then. I just couldn't get past the whole, little fish with bones. I don't get it. But now it's like, pretty tasty.
Who turned you on to sardines as an adult?
It was weird, man. I think after when I did the juice fast, I think it was like a reset, because avocados, which I really was never a big avocado fan, I like, probably because of the fat.
Yeah.
Natural fat. And then the fish, probably the protein in the sardines, because I never liked that. Never.
Man.
Now I do. And kippers. I like kippers.
What are kippers?
So it's like sardines. It's like all that same kind of.
Oh, okay. All right.
Fish in a can.
Now, let me tell you something, man. Next time you come to St. Louis, my wife makes great guacamole. You like guacamole, man?
Yes, sir.
Ooh, dude, she makes a guacamole. It's award-winning, man.
Now, do you say guacamole?
Guacamole.
Okay.
Guacamole!
Tony, do you say
guac, as they say guac? You like to order guac? No, I don't want no guac.
You do guacamole?
Guacamole!
And when you talk to your family members, do you like the Hispanic newscaster do? Like if his name's Lorenzo.
No, but you know what? I know.
Hey, I'm talking to my cousin, Lorenzo Harajas.
I remember, dude, a couple stories. One, Julius Hunter used to do that. The legendary St. Louis TV anchor, right? He used to say, the attorney, Rodrigo Barajas, and he would say it with the accent, right? And it was like, cool! Nice! And then there's this the person who's on, she's on the news now, and there was somebody named Robles, right? Robles. And hand to God, she called the man Robles. That was almost as bad as the lady here years ago. She called Dr. King's son, Martin Luther King Jr. the third. That's what she called him, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. the third. I was like, oh hell no, she didn't just do that. Yep.
So Tony, you don't do it when you talk about your cousins?
No, and you know why? Because most
Armando Saslanas.
Because most of the cousins that I grew up with don't speak Spanish either.
Okay.
So they don't know. They don't know any better than I do. Right.
So out of disrespect, you don't do it.
No, just out of not knowing and out of habit. At this point, why? Now my mother does it all the time because that's just her. She grew up speaking Spanish. Like the other day, she was saying, "You got to do it for la raza." I said, I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, okay, you just said everything in English up to this point. All you had to say is I had to do this for the race, but you had to say la raza. Okay, I was like, okay, what happened, man? Just kidding. Can you just keep it on the one lane, man? You change lanes and then you went back again. Stop that. Stop it.
That's all right. Mom gets a pass.
Mom gets a pass. So yeah, La Raza, the race.
Are you a George Lopez fan, man?
I like George Lopez. My mother doesn't, but I like him. He's all right.
I think he's really funny. But
I cringed when he was on Arsenio's second show.
When he did the hair stuff?
I cringed almost the whole time because I thought he was trying too hard. Mm-hmm. And two, I think that he was saying things that probably were not appropriate for television, even that late at night.
Well, interesting.
I just felt that way, so I don't know. So we got a couple of I posted on Facebook that we were doing the show tonight, and somebody asked me how would you deal with a broken heart in regards to your daughter if she had a boyfriend and he broke her heart, if he cheated on her, or he just said, you know what, I need to take a break. How would you deal with it? And it's a great question, man. How would you? I mean, your daughter's 12. Mine's 18 and 29. I got 29, 18-year-old and a 14-year-old. you got your oldest is a 12, soon to be 13-year-old. I mean, you don't really have this problem right now, but how do you think you would deal with it? Because it's daddy's little girl whose heart is broken.
Well, it's tough. I mean, for me, it's tough, man. Because I didn't. I think I was. I didn't date anybody seriously till I was 20. Like grown, and so I didn't have a broken heart. And Allison always jokes with me on that. I didn't have a broken heart. I guess
your heart's never been broken.
Nope. But I think a lot of it, good or bad, is a technique. I probably almost took to not get hurt. I probably, I never put all my carts in that basket.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was always kind of the. I wasn't in that irrational.
I'm sorry. I'm just thinking about, I mean, you and I worked together for like 5 or 6 years, and you told me a lot of things, man. And I'm just thinking about the time that you went to South Carolina and you visited an old girlfriend, and
Yeah.
you was sitting you was sitting on the couch. She was sitting on the couch, and I don't know, he was a cousin or something, and that's what she told you. And then she went in the back, and then he went in the back, and you sat there like 20 minutes, like, what?
Yes, what he do? Yeah, never to return.
That didn't break your heart, man?
No, we were broken up. So I visited. You know how you date somebody?
Yeah.
That could have been she could have done it, but again, I think I was always. We dated. We did the long distance thing.
You did.
We did the long distance thing, and I think I loved her.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was in love. So we both did morning shows together, and I would call in the morning, "Hey, how you doing? How you doing?" You remember. So I call, and she never came to the phone that morning.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, never came to the phone. We were doing our show. Phone just sitting on the side of the thing.
Hello.
She never came. So I think, but again, I think.
Oh, she came.
Yeah. I think again, I think I was maybe Mr. Practical.
Yeah.
Long distance relationship. Can they really work? So built into that was probably, in my mind, I just looked at it like, what are the chances of this really working? That's probably how I looked at it, which is probably people who are head over heels in love don't look at things that way, probably, right?
Yeah.
And I think, I think a lot of it has to do with Tony, being an only child. I think being an only child, you sometimes end up really looking out for yourself and really liking yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you're kind of protective of yourself, and you're not necessarily prone to not thinking things through. So I think you almost overthink things. So you then, by overthinking it, you have a more, in a sense, a balance kind of, so I'm in love. I like this person. I hope they like me as much as as I like them. They may not. Whereas I think sometimes when you're head over heels, you don't think of things like that. It's
right.
like, I'm in love, and, I hope they're in love. Whatever, you just think I'm in love. And then come to find out they're not, you get crushed. So when we did the long distance thing, I think built into that, I knew it might not work.
Mm-hmm.
So then when it happened, it was the moment of, I was just more like, wow, I can't believe she played me like this. So she played me like that. We moved forward. A couple years later, we were both single, and I visited her in the town she was living in. So again, same thing. I go in with no expectations. People are like, oh man, you just visited because you want to hit. No, I actually, to be honest, probably wanted to find out with the closure piece, like, why did you bail like that and not just tell me? And so I think I probably, my lesson I learned was, when that happens in relationships, you look for closure. Sometimes there's never closure. It just is.
It just
right?
is what it is.
So I'm hanging out with her. She says her friend comes back. They go in the back. And never came back.
They still back there.
Still back there. I'm sitting in the front. I'm sitting on the porch. I'm sitting on the couch like, hello? So obviously, she said she wasn't seeing anybody. She was seeing somebody, and that was her man. Instead of just saying, hey, Mark, this is my man, or you have to go now, or whatever. She didn't do anything.
See,
I just sat on the front couch like.
See, my ex-wife did that, man. When I went down to Texas to see AJ when she was little, and I went over to pick her up at her, at her mom's house, and which she was living at the time with her parents, and I went over there, and she had a couple siblings. She had like a lot of siblings, and there was a lot. Most of them were there, and so we sat talking and stuff. How you been? Hey, what's going on? Because I knew these people for a long time, right? And there was this dude sitting there. He ain't saying nothing, and then all of a sudden he just gets up and walks away. So I asked one of my wife's sisters. I said, "What's his deal?" He goes, "Oh, that's her boyfriend." I'm like, "Why y'all do that to me, man?" And they were like, "We're talking." I said, "Why y'all? Why didn't y'all introduce me and tell me why y'all have?" I just disrespected this man. I just disrespected him. I came to his girlfriend's house and didn't say anything to him. I didn't say a word to him. I ignored him. And I ignored him because I just thought he was some dude. I didn't know that was her boyfriend. So that makes it disrespectful, right? So the next time I saw him, I went up to him. I says, "Dude, I owe you an apology." And he looked at me like, "What the hell are you talking about?" And I told him. And his eyes got like he was caught off guard. And I told him, I said, "Dude," I says, "I meant no disrespect to you, man. I didn't know you were her boyfriend. I'm not trying to step on any toes, man." I says, that part of my life is over. In my mind, I'm thinking she's your problem now, right? But it wasn't really like that. So, but I said, I owe you an apology, and we shook hands, and we've been cool ever since. Ever since when I come to town, he would call me to see how I'm doing and everything. When AJ would tell him and stuff. So we were always thanked him for being there for AJ because I was in St. Louis and he was there. So I always thanked him for that. And we had conversations when she passed, my ex-wife passed away and stuff. We talked and stuff like that. So,
this is Tony Scott.
Yeah, well, it was after post medication. After I started taking medication.
What's going on, man?
Before
Before
I'd have been, "I'm strapped, dude. What you got, man? Feeling froggy jump, mother." And so so I get it. So handling the broken heart, because to me,
the broken heart.
I think I would, for me, I would probably tell, because Olivia reads her Bible a lot. And I will probably tell her that this is not the man God has sent you. And here's why. And this, that, and the other, right? I would explain why, what's wrong with the relationship. He needs a break, or he cheated on you. He cheated on you because he felt like, he was not worthy of you. He couldn't commit himself to you and you only. So he's not the one if that's what you're looking for. I think that's how I would handle it, right? Now, if she got back with him, then I think him and I would have to have a conversation.
Wait a minute.
That's
a Papa Chulo.
Got to do it.
Tony Scott.
Do you think you would go along the same way?
I think Allison's more capable because I think as a woman, she's more sensitive. I'm not as sensitive with it. I would, again, I'm probably more practical, but I would just, I think, my message would always be, when we fall in love with people, and we hope that they love us as much as we love them,
right?
But they may not,
right?
And that's not necessarily bad. You would want to know that. You would want to know that. Now, if it's a cheating thing, then the character issue, and again, you're better off. You want to know. You want to know truth, and so I think if the truth is in a situation is that the person that you love doesn't love you, or the person that you love is not faithful to you and can't be faithful, it's better to know it than to get in a relationship with someone who's lying to you, right?
Right. That's true.
So I think that's how I would kind of like, because I think that is something I was thinking about. I was listening to a talk show guy today. He's anti, Tom Likas. He's anti-marriage, because he talks about how the gold diggers are out here. And he's like a pro guy stance, which switches.
I didn't know he was still on the radio.
He's still back, yeah. So he's like an anti-marriage piece. And as I listened to his thing, I was like, wow, he sounds like a real jilted or hurt person. And when it comes to marriage and relationships, we all want our relationships to work. Obviously, nobody wants it not to work. But the reality is, one day your mate could be like, "I'm not in love with you anymore." That's just something that can happen. Yeah. And there's nothing you can do about that. Right. So I think you have to love yourself, and you have to love that person and let them be the person that they're going to be. And that's you can't control. People want to control, or just because you said you were my, it changes.
How much more of an active role would you play if you found out that some man been smacking your daughter around?
Well, yeah, he'd probably have to go.
You probably have to call me and say you need to saddle up.
Well, or it's probably have to make him disappear.
Yeah, I get that. I feel the same way. So Barbara,
it's like that. Yeah, that part. Yeah, that part, and it's so interesting because having them it's all theory up to the point. And Allison always teases me because I used to say, well, everybody's responsible for themselves. No, if you put your hand on my daughter, you probably you're gonna bring a stub back for real.
You draw.
And it's not even a yeah. I think it's important. Yeah, it's important to make a statement.
Yeah, you have to go all Sonny Corleone on him, huh?
Yeah, I mean, now, again, going to jail is not smart for anybody. But again, yeah, I can't imagine somebody putting their hand on my daughter.
Yeah.
Daughters.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine. I can't imagine me hearing it and not snapping. But again, that's the dad in you. But in reality,
well, let's back it down a step though. What about if you overheard him talking ugly to her?
Same thing. He would get, and she would get an earful too if she put up with that.
Yeah. Because
again, I did not raise you to be, that kind of person.
Right.
What I mean by that kind of person, somebody you got to respect yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like, and again, I hope that we have given them everything they need because to demand respect.
Yeah.
I see we see story after story of girls like ours who are in these abusive relationships.
Sure.
And I'm trying to figure it out. I hope I don't have to figure it out.
Right.
Because I'm like, okay, a lot of times, they say, they don't have a father figure. They don't have ours had all that. Ours had all the support. They had the dad in the household. So please,
Mm-hmm.
Allison's never been in that kind of relationship. And I hope that, I hope our daughters are the same way. Allison never really had any craziness.
You remember that girl we used to work with, and I won't say her name, but she used to work she didn't work with us, but we worked at the same radio station together. And she in her heart, she told us one time she believed that every female has been sexually abused in their life. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I could not believe she said that. But that to her, I guess that's her reality, though.
Yeah,
and there was something very sad about that. So,
in her experience, yeah, and sadly, you're right. I think a lot of people have been through that. It's just like a lot of people, when you talk about, I think people of color, some people always, our perspective is always a lot of times the jail piece and the crime piece, but there's some people who haven't had that. Some people who aren't raised with that kind of craziness,
right.
And what a blessing that is.
Sure.
I remember I was a kid, and the first time I heard somebody say, a black man ain't a man until he's been to jail. And I had never heard that. See, so it's a consciousness. Like if your uncles are saying that all the time because they're in jail. And so when I said that to my mother looked at me like, she was like, what the hell are you talking about?
Rightfully so. Rightfully so.
It's like, that's not our family. It's not how we roll. So right. I don't know what the hell you got that from. It was interesting because again, she was mad, because it was like, who's basically filling your head with that bull crap? Yeah. But a lot of kids really do come from that perspective.
Yeah.
And I think not to say that you're better than anybody else, but I think that kind of mentality feeds a negative concept of a lot of things.
True.
Just like I think a lot of people are raised with victim consciousness, like with their kids. I mean, they feel like, because you black, you gotta. I don't believe in that. Mm-hmm. There's no reason why. Our kids have been given everything that they need to succeed.
Sure.
There's no shorts. There's no, they don't have that. They can't say, oh, I didn't have no, they got it,
Well, we got 2 more questions, but before I do that, remember a couple of weeks ago on one of our shows, we talked about the schools here in St. Louis, how they were unaccredited and, the choice of what school to go to. And you said you should go, by any means necessary, your kids should go to the best school that's available for them, right? Mm-hmm. No matter what excuse. There was a story this week. This one kid that lives in the Normandy district, he woke up late. He missed his bus, 6:15 in the morning. What would most kids have done? Oh, well, I'd take a zero. This dude took his bike out and rode 30 miles to school.
Gee whiz.
That young man's going to be somebody.
Yep.
He is.
Damn.
He is, yeah. So Barbara says on Facebook, she says, why do young women dance to music that disrespects them? Now, I'll say this. I don't think that young women are hearing the lyrics necessarily. I mean, they probably hear them, but I think the beat is more important to them than the lyric. That's why they dance to them. And, of course, you have some that they just, it don't matter to them.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's kind of a young person thing. I mean, it's like, you have some women, I'm not going to dance, But I think it's kind of like young people do it all the time. Sadly, now that I have daughters, I'm like, hey, But when I was younger, I danced to it. Or even just last year, I just think I know. Um, yeah, that is interesting how people compartmentalize, that kind of thing. Because that's the case. Like you said, it's like dancing with nigga. Like people dancing my nigga. It's like,
hello, hello,
anybody?
hello.
Yeah. Jigga. What? Oh, white guy get a beat down singing the words, right?
I mean, is that? I thought it was okay.
Yeah. It's kind of like the double standards. Speaking of that, the video game that sold at 800 million.
Grand Theft Auto 5, yeah.
So same thing in that video game. Now there's sex, there's strip club, there's sex in the bathroom, there's picking up a prostitute. Where's the outrage? And parents don't even know. Parents don't even. Yeah, I got my kid Grand Theft Auto 5.
I'm a cool dad.
Yeah.
yeah.
They had you go to a strip club. They have one of the controversial things is you go to the strip club where the rules are you can't touch the stripper, but you
this is in the game.
Yes.
Okay. You
touch the stripper, and if the bouncer doesn't catch you touching the stripper, you can take her home and have sex with her. How about that? That's what our kids are playing.
That's what our kids
to the tune of $800 million
in the first 3 days.
And then we're wondering why people are abusive. Oh, and also don't forget about the crime, the robbery, the killing,
the grand theft,
and the grand theft. That's right. Yeah. And the mistreatment of women, the misogyny, and then we wonder why our women, the men are
we wonder why they
not related.
Why they dance to music that disrespects them.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the last question is actually geared to you and I. Marriage life. How do you keep the spice?
I think I'm the killer of spice.
Are you the spice killer, man?
If you ask my wife, I think she would say, huh? Well, Tony, you go first on the spice question.
Well, I'm not very interested in spice, but I will say this: I find my wife to be sexier now than when I met her when she was 21. I think she's hotter now for some reason. So I still.
Does she think you're hotter now?
I don't know. I never really asked her. I know she thinks she.
No, she doesn't.
She doesn't. She told you.
Your wife and my wife both had the same reaction.
No, not at all. So, I think I don't really think about ways to keep it spicy because I think that we have a love for each other that just is always hot anyway to me. Now, if you ask her, she might give you a different answer. But I just think she's the hottest thing walking the planet, in my opinion. What about you? How do you keep it spicy at your house?
Well, I think sadly, I think keeping the spice, the real spice ain't spicy because of me. The seeds of my spice are not as hot as they used to be.
Yeah.
But I think I think it would sadly it ends up being compartmentalized, to be honest, between the job and everything else that's going on in life.
Kids,
that does take a hit.
Yeah.
That does take a hit.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the interaction is always spicy because, like you said, there's always again, my wife too. We're lucky we have beautiful wives. And my wife is she's the bomb.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's always in play. The playfulness, the doing fun stuff together. We communicate a lot. We still cuddle a lot. So that's the energy that I think that's the key. I think you really have to genuinely appreciate each other, and you really have to like each other. Because I think that's what happens. You end up not liking people. Married people don't like each other, and that kills the energy of it. Now, we could do a better job of making time for one-on-one. because we, with everything that goes on, we really don't.
Right.
We really just kind of get it in when we can, and we don't have any time we dedicate. So the theory to keep it spicy would be to commit to spending one-on-one time with each other. If it's once a week, if it's once every, twice a week, where it's just you and your boo.
Mm-hmm.
But sadly, we don't really do that.
Well, it's easier to say to do that than actually to do it, because there's so much, there's a curveball every day. So now I will say this now, and you know this about me. I'm not Mr. Sex Guy. I'm not Mr. Romantic Guy. I really never have been. My wife is always telling people, I love him for a lot of things, but I don't like the fact that he's not a very loving person. And I'm not. I mean, I love my wife. I tell her I love her. I tell her things like that all the time. But I'm not Mr. Cuddly, Mr. I got to have it 2 or 3 times a week. I never have been that way. Even when I was younger, to me, sex has not been the only thing that's been on my brain. There's other things that I find, to be quite honest, just as stimulating. Now, that's not a knock against against my wife. I almost called her my ex-wife.
Easy, mister.
That's not a knock against my wife, because like I said, I think she's the hottest thing walking. It's just that I have other interests and other passions.
And one of them is cutting grass.
Detailing cars, ironing shirts, electronics,
Are you still ironing shirts, man?
Oh yeah. Who's gonna iron them? I'm not gonna iron them and expect her to iron them now. My wife does so much, not only just for me but for my kids. And my wife has done what she's done, which has enabled me to have the kind of career I've had, which in turn has given us, a lifestyle that I never could even dream about as a little boy, right? I didn't know I'd have this kind of life. Who would know that? But because she takes a lot of the load off of me, it allows me to be able to do what I think I need to do to keep it at a level that's going to keep me employed. So, but having said that, I've been selfish because she's given everything. So now, she's selling real estate and I support her. She wrote a contract today and I told her we need to celebrate. I'm very happy for her. I'm very proud of her.
Okay,
So,
all right.
So, but it's one of those things, man. But keeping it spicy, I think it's different for everybody. Some people keep it spicy on, like keeping Cinemax on all the time in the bedroom.
I think making that time for each other is so important. And then, like I said, working on liking each other. If you don't like each other, it's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
And I think, because I see married couples and they kind of exhibit that kind of behavior where they don't treat each other like they like each other. Mm-hmm. They just kind of treat each other like
roommates.
We're married.
Roommates.
Yeah. And so, and that's so,
Yeah. Got you.
We failed on the spice question.
you asked two old guys. What are you talking about over here? So, well, that's it, man. That's what we have. 2 dads, 6 daughters is our weekly show that we do. We're 2 fathers. We each have 3 daughters. We're best friends, and we're here to talk about life, our daughters, and how everything relates to them. So appreciate you watching. If you've got comments, Mark actually has an iHeartRadio channel.
Yes, and you do too.
Well,
so
I do too.
I put it on the Mark, mm-hmm. Mark Clark on the Mark, mm-hmm. and also I have a new app that you can get on your phone system. Mark Clark, MarkClarke. Get that app, and it'll be on that. Mm-hmm. And you're also going to put it on your 55 channel.
Yeah, I've got the website. I've got the YouTube channels. I got Facebook pages. I got Spreaker. I got iHeartRadio. So we're everywhere. All you got to do is hunt for 2. If you Google 2 dads, 6 daughters, we'll come up. Well, actually, we'll be first because no one else is using 2 dads, 6 daughters. So,
okay, good.
That's a good thing. But Mark, on his channel, he's also doing a weekly review of Boardwalk Empire.
So Boardwalk Empire fans, if you'd like to join us, it'll be Mondays at 11 o'clock on Blog Talk Radio, but you could just go to any of my, Twitter or whatever. You can find it and join.
Well, I'll get the link, and then I'll use one of those link shortener things, and then people click that, it'll take you straight to it, and you can join him at 11 o'clock Eastern Time.
Yeah.
10 o'clock Central Time, and then forth and so on. So there you go. All right, 2 dads, 6 daughters, man. Next week, man.
Next week it is, brother. Be safe.
All right.